we have a great deal to celebrate. I was here on these very steps in January for the Women's March that coincided with the DC March. And it was amazing, the support, the love, the energy that we felt.
You've mentioned organizations that are so good, and there are others, the Women's Commission, the Planned Parenthood, West Virginia Free. And this is my exact quote from many decades ago. Why is it that a woman possessed of good common sense is perfectly willing to marry a lunatic? Do you hear that, Melania? Until individual freedom's attained, we can never know, we cannot even prophesy the capacity and power of women for the uplifting of humanity.
Being a woman and being an African American, you talk about the system of racism. Let's talk about the system of sexism. Everything that I would go to school and say I wanted to do, they tell me I couldn't do it. There were even situations when I would pick out a blue cake for my birthday, and I'd be told I couldn't have a blue cake because that meant boys. It didn't matter what I liked. It didn't matter what I wanted. It mattered their perception. It mattered the weight they wanted to put on me. It mattered the restrictions they wanted to give me. So many times I've told people that I didn't have a desire to have children. And instead of respecting my opinion, even some women said to me, "You'll change your mind."
The politicians in their life are representing them. It's like they get into office and we never see them again. So I'm active on Facebook, my Twitter. I'm always going live. If you follow that, I would love to sit down. My cell phone number's on there. Give me a call. 1920 was a good year, but 97 years later, we have so much more that we need to be working on.
Passed by Congress in 1972 after many years of hard work, the Equal Rights Amendment stated simply that equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. 3/4 of the state legislators were needed to ratify it, and that would be a total of 38 out of 50 states. In the very first year, 22 states, including West Virginia, had done so. So by my sophomore year in 1978, we were just 3 states short. But then, Ronald Reagan swept in, embraced the new right and the so-called moral majority. At his bidding, the ERA disappeared from the GOP platform at the 1980 convention, a break from 40 years of Republican tradition. He said it wasn't necessary. But then, Reagan backed a human life amendment not only to ban abortion, but to reduce women's access to birth control. Once in office, he slashed the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, a signal to big business that government would turn a blind eye to pay gaps and sexual harassment.
When women in the legislature, and Bonnie Brown spoke earlier, we were there, but what we did, we unified. We had an opportunity to, even with the pro-life women and the pro-choice, they knew where we stood, we knew where they stood. But we had one incident that I want to share with you. We called it when the women of the House filibustered and made the men in the Senate cry uncle or maybe aunt. And what happened with that is we had a problem in West Virginia. The hospitals in West Virginia were bouncing poor pregnant women from hospital to hospital because they were concerned that if they took them in, it might be a liability risk because that mom may not have had the prenatal care, the child may not have had. There might be some problems with that. For women, we said that's inexcusable, that's not acceptable, and we're going to do something. And Patty White, who's not here, Bobby Brown, who was there, Bobby Hatfield, Sue Davis from Huntington. I served with her. She was a great mentor. We were all together and we said we're going to get a bill, and so we introduced a piece of legislation that went to the Senate. Well, much to our dismay, the chairman of the Health and Human Resources Committee was very, very close to the Hospital Association. So he was trying to kill the bill. And I share this with you because it shows how when we work together as a team and build coalitions across the spectrum, how powerful we are, what we can do as a group of people. I share with you because they thought they had killed that bill. We had a press conference that night. As soon as we heard about it, we called in the media. They came, and I called Judy Romero, and I said, Judy, you know I'm pro-choice. I know you're pro-life, but we need your help. The women of West Virginia, the poor pregnant women of West Virginia need your help, and I know how much you want to be able, you support, and how much we support women with the choice that they want to make, whatever that is. And we need you. Can you bring some people to the Capitol steps? And she said, absolutely. What time and how many do you want? So it was so exciting when we were in the legislature, and it was pro-choice and pro-life people telling the senator, get that bill out. And all of us basically at that time were labeled one of the two. It was one of the most exciting times when we actually had about 3 days when everything was a standstill, because our filibuster meant that we would not accept, and our leadership helped us, would not accept any bill from the Senate and put it up for vote until the Senate got that bill out of committee, took it to the floor, and passed it over to the House. And we were able to do it. We held strong, even though we had incredible pressure. They were going to be taking it at things in the House. So I want to share that with you, because even in your darkest hour, you have power. We have so much power when we unify.
If it wasn't for a woman, I wouldn't be here.
Woo!
And the most important woman in my life is my mom, who has fought to give me a wonderful life when I went to Concord University. She deserves equal pay for equal work. And it's frustrating. And people feel frustrated. They don't feel like the politicians in their life are representing them. It's like they get into office and we never see them again.
I felt the relief of knowing my loved ones made it home safely and not buried miles deep under a mountain. I know what it's like to be hungry when the coal market is down. I've tasted some of the cleanest water in the world that no longer exists in southern West Virginia. I've also consumed polluted water that was polluted with coal waste. I've buried my family members too soon because they suffocated to death with black lung cancer. I've watched my neighbors, my family, and my friends suffer the same fate. West Virginia is one of the poorest and sickest states in the nation.
I am proud to announce today, and my next step in this march is that I'm running for West Virginia House of Delegates representing Huntington's 17th District.